How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. This video I'm going to be doing a Pittsburgh season review. But before we get into the review, let's check out this merch. Ooh, I know what you're thinking. Where did I get this from? I got this from sabigarments.com. He has one of the best apparels in the game. Guys, there's everything which you want. You have stuff from vintage to streetwear. I love streetwear. I'm a big IB. So when I saw this OVO 2015 sweatshirt, I was like, I need to get it. But guys, please go on the website and check. He has so many good garments. He has so much different other accessories which you can do. Please go and support it. Link in the description. So let's start with the first game of the season. So the first game of the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers were the New York Giants. I expected the Pittsburgh Steelers to win, of course, but I didn't expect them to win in like a formidable fashion where like we just blew out the New York Giants, because it was the first game of the season and many players were coming back from injuries. Big Ben, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL to ever do it. He was coming back after a long year where he was out for more than years, and we didn't have preseason. Preseason got cancelled due to COVID, so not everyone on the team trained together or we had any preseason game to get used to each other. So we started really slow in that game where both teams only scored 3 points in each quarter, but then slowly the offense and the defense came into their own group, where the defense throughout the game got nearly more than 5 sacks and 2 interceptions, where TJ Watt got interception and Cameron Haywood got interception. And the offense slowly started in the group where we scored 13 points in the second quarter, and we won the game by 26 to 16, I believe, at the end. And the defense did really well to stop Saquon Barkley. Like Saquon Barkley is probably one of the greatest running back in the NFL right now. This man can hurdle tackle so easily, and we shut him down. Even though it was a slow start, we got the win, and that's what matters in the first game of the season. So let's move on to the second game of the season. So the second game of the season, the Pittsburgh Steelers fought the Denver Broncos. And this game wasn't like a major game because the Denver Broncos haven't really had a great season, and they were coming 0-1 into the game. But we did struggle throughout the game. We didn't really win the first half where we scored 17 points. It was 17-3. But in the third quarter, we couldn't score a point, where they scored 11 points, and they got it really close. They only got one field goal within us. But in the fourth quarter, we came back where Big Ben and James Conner had a great game, where James Conner had over 100 rushing yards in that game, and then Big Ben had 2 touchdowns, and I think he had 1 touchdown in the last quarter and 1 field goal. And luckily we won that game, where we won from 26 to 21. So let's move on to game week 3. Game week 3 was where we had our first real competition. We were versing the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans have a really great team. They have Deshaun Watson, they have JJ Watt. They had a really good defense. They made it to the second round of the AFC last year. But coming into this game, we started off slow again, where we only registered 3 points in the first quarter, and they scored a touchdown. But in the second quarter, both teams did really well, where Pittsburgh and Houston Texans scored 14 points. But what really helped us in this game was our defense. Our defense came in clutch, where we didn't let Deshaun Watson register any points in the third or fourth quarter, whereas we registered I think 3 points in the third quarter and 8 points in the last quarter, and we won this game, where we won by 26 to 21, and the defense had a really good game. We had 1 interceptions and over 5 sacks, and this really helped us because it really showed that we could be one of the best in the NFL. After being the Houston Texans in a very close game, but the defense came in clutch, we went against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Philadelphia Eagles was a very interesting game where it was a very high-scoring game where both defenses didn't really do a lot. It was offense against offense. It was Big Ben against Wentz, and it was a very difficult game for us in the first 2 quarters, where we scored both teams scored 7 points in the first quarter. We just clutched it with a touchdown and a field goal. But what really helped us this week was our rookie Chase Claypool. He was actually really good for us in this game, where I think he broke the rookie record for the most touchdowns in a game. I think he had 3 receiving touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. And this was really good because it really showed that we have some new talent in the game, where every time we don't have to find the likes of James Washington or Juju Smith-Schuster. We have new talent like Chase Claypool, Ray Cloud. So we had some new talent which we could go to. Even though this game, our defense didn't turn up as good as we can, the offense got it down, where Big Ben threw 3 touchdowns for no interceptions. So we had some success in this game, and we won this game by 38 to 29. and we were going what now 4-0. It was looking good for us. So let's move on to game week 5. This was a great week for us. This is when we versed our first competitors in the AFC North. We versed the Cleveland Browns, and what a game it was. We won that game by 38-7. We had such a great game where we only restricted the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield to 7 points in the second quarter, and they didn't score in the first, the third, or the fourth quarter. And at this time, the Cleveland Browns had a good team where they had Kareem Hunt, they had Jarvis Landry, they had OBJ, but the defense came in clutch and the offense did really well where we were doing bits rushing, where James Conner had a touchdown, Benny Snooze Jr. had a touchdown, Chase Claypool had a touchdown, James Washington had a touchdown, Big Ben throwing 1 touchdown, but we didn't really have to go to our wide receivers. Our rushers were doing really well. And in terms of defense, the defense got a touchdown where Micah Fitzpatrick got the pick 6, went to the end zone, and we just didn't let Baker Mayfield or any of the Browns get anywhere offensively, and we were going really well defensively, where we scored 10 points in the first quarter, 14 points in the second quarter, 7 points in the third quarter, 7 points in the fourth quarter. So we won this game to 38-7, and this was looking good because we beat one of our AFC North rivals, and probably for us, the Cleveland Browns and the Ravens are the biggest rivals for us. Game week 6, and this was probably the most difficult game for us. We just narrowly won this game. This was the game against the Tennessee Titans, and everyone knows that the Tennessee Titans are a very good team. They have Ryan Tannehill, who's a very good throw of the ball, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, very good. Not very good defense, but they have a great offense going forward. And we started off this game really well, where we scored 7 points in the first quarter, 17 points in the second quarter. So, and compared to Tennessee Titans, 7 points. So at halftime we were I believe we were 24-7 up. And after halftime, this is where the problem started. Both offensively and defensively, we couldn't really do a lot. Where Tennessee Titans was slowly creeping back in the game, where they scored 10 points in the third quarter and 3 points in the fourth quarter, and we only scored 3 points in the third quarter, couldn't score any in the fourth. And the only reason we won that game was because of the field goal missed by the Tennessee Titans field kicker. I don't know what his name is. When he missed that chance, that game got really close, because if they kicked that field goal, they could have tied up the game, and that all the momentum going forward, where Big Ben threw 2 interceptions in the last 2 quarters, where he was trying too much, and the only reason we won is because of that field goal. If that field goal didn't come up, when they missed that field goal, Mara just did really, man, that game we should have really lost. I was so surprised. Like, their field goal kicker is probably one of the most accurate in the league, but when he missed that, I was so happy. So let's move on to game week 7. This was another close game where we versed probably our greatest rival in the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens. This was a very close game. We only won this game by 4 points, and we started off real slow. In the first 2 quarters only registered 7 points, and going into halftime we were losing 17-7. But what I have to give credit to was Big Ben and the defense did really well, because the defense in the third and fourth quarter really restricted Lamar Jackson, where they only restricted him to 7 points, and we forced 2 interceptions and I believe over 3 or 4 sacks in that game, and I have to give props to the offense as well, because even though we had a really bad start, we scored 14 points in the third quarter, and the third quarter has been really bad for us, where we haven't registered a lot of points, but it really showed to me that this team had really good fight, really good determination, and we were ready to win this game. But before I keep on giving too much credit for the offense and defense, the offense didn't do a lot in the fourth quarter. Even though we got the touchdown, we couldn't convert. Our rushing was pretty poor, because we could have shut the game out. We could have shut the game out in the end of the fourth quarter, where if James Conner, I think if he converted 2 or 3 yards, we could have run down the clock. But no, we didn't do that, and we took it to the wire against the against the Baltimore Ravens, where Lamar Jackson couldn't throw throughout the game, and if there was anyone else in that game, we could have lost for sure, because they would have thrown that ball into the end zone very well, because we played I think on Brown we put nearly 3 man, and Lamar Jackson chose him, so we could get the ball out of the end zone, but we could have easily lost that game. But we move on. We got the job done at the end, and we were 7-0, and we were the only team which were, I believe, undefeated still at this time. Game week 8. Game week 8 was another difficult game for us. We were versing the Dallas Cowboys, and this game was really close. We narrowly won this game the end score was 19-24 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we did play really well offensively. They scored what? I believe they scored 21 points in the first 3 quarters, and we only scored 9. So we were losing going into the 4th quarter. We were losing 21-9, and this was against the Dallas Cowboys team who didn't have Dan Prescott, and then Andrew, the backup quarterback got injured, and they got a quarterback from, I believe, the practice squad or they got a quarterback from the practice squad, and he wasn't playing in the NFL. I think he got drafted in like round 6, or he was round 6, and we made tough work for ourselves where we had to take all the way onto the 4th quarter to win, where we scored 15 points in the 4th quarter to win the game by 24-19. But even though we won this game, I was like, okay, we need to actually start putting more effort in, where not to leave it to the last minute, because like eventually it's gonna come and get you. Where when we come against a better team such as like the Buffalo Bills or like the Indiana Colts, where their defense could stop us from just going anywhere offensively. So it was, even though we won the game, there was big question marks from the offense during that game, where Big Ben didn't throw very well. Juju Smith-Schuster was average. Chase Claypool average. Deontay Johnson average. James Conner couldn't get the rushing yards. We were terrible. We were just not terrible. We were just not as good as we could be. But we got the win. So let's move on to game week 8. So let's move on to game week 9, 10, 11. And these three game weeks were pretty good for us, except game week 11. With game week 11 was pretty fucked for us, because against the Ravens, they had so many players in the COVID list. This game had to go from a Sunday to, I believe, a Wednesday or Thursday, and this was the first time ever an NFL game was played on. I believe it was a Wednesday. It was the first time ever an NFL game was played on a Wednesday, and that game was a shite from both teams. Let's be real. The Pittsburgh Steelers just narrowly won it by 19-14. The Baltimore Ravens had RG3, Robert Griffin III, but he didn't really do a lot. I believe he had like 3 interceptions. He couldn't really throw the ball, and it was a shit show from the Pittsburgh Steelers as well, where even though we scored 19 points, how the fuck did he give away 14 points to a Ravens team who didn't have, I believe they didn't have Marcus Oliver Brown, they didn't have Lamar Jackson, they didn't have Brandon Ingram. Both teams just, I think we were just so fucked from all the people just getting finessed from COVID, and all the different game weeks where we had to play before against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cincinnati Bengals. It wasn't easy for us, but we did win the game, and we got through that game. I was going to say we won the game in style. We got through that game. But let's go back. Let's go back to game week number 9. Game week number 9 was against the Cincinnati Bengals, and we won this game 36-10. And this game was we did really want this game, where it was Joe Burrow's first season, and we didn't really let him do anything. We scored a lot of points throughout the game. We scored I believe we scored 12 points in the first quarter, 10 points in the second quarter, 7 points in the third quarter, and 7 points in the fourth quarter. And Big Ben had 4 touchdowns for 0 interceptions. And let's see what Joe Burrow did. Joe Burrow had 1 touchdown. I think he got sacked like 4 times. We had a really good game. We didn't really let them do a lot, and the defense and offense came in clutch throughout the game. Then let's move on to game week number 10. So game week number 10, we versed the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was a very good game for us as well, because after we had to rest all our players for the game week against the Baltimore Ravens, but unfortunately that game got delayed so long, so we didn't really play a very strong team. But even then, we won that game 27-3, and the Jacksonville Jaguars couldn't do anything. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a decent running back, they have decent wide receivers, but their quarterback just tries too much, and we won that game in formidable fashion. We won by 27-3. I believe Big Ben threw 3 touchdowns. I believe Juju got a touchdown. Chase Claypool got 2 touchdowns. James Conner didn't have the we didn't have the best rushing game. We got the job done. So let's move on to game week 12. Game week 12 is when we got handed our first L. Our first L came against Washington, and I really thought our first L would come against Buffalo Bills, but it was actually a poor game from us, where offensively we just fucked up again. Like, we didn't have running back James Conner, but you know, backup running backs didn't rush for that many yards. What? Four carries for 15 yards ain't that good. And we started off the game really well, where we registered 14 points compared to Washington's 3 points. But a big problem for us is either we start off really well, fuck up at the end, or start really bad and do well at the end. But in this game, we did really well at the start, and then we fucked up at the end. And something which our defense couldn't do was save us. Like, they saved us in so many other circumstances, in the Ravens game, in the Dallas Cowboys game, in the Indiana game, which is going to come a bit later. But they scored nearly 21 points in the last 2 quarters, and we only registered 3. Like, this is bullshit. This team is not, the Washington team wasn't even that good, even though they have a great young defense, which I rate. In the future, they could easily win a Super Bowl. We had to win because Big Ben's getting old, and I need a ring back in Pittsburgh, but we fucked up. We fucked up in that game, and what? We lost the game 17-23, and it was our first loss of the game, first loss of the season. Then moving on to our next game of the season was against the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills games, I knew we were going to lose because Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just destroyed us in that game, where Josh Allen threw 2 touchdowns. They had really good rushing, they had really good receiving, and we didn't really do anything offensively or defensively in that game, where we gave up 14 points in the third quarter, 9 points in the second quarter, and something which Pittsburgh always do is where they start coming back in the fourth quarter or have a lot of points in the second quarter. But against a good defense like the Buffalo Bills, that ain't gonna happen. And it was just too late to do anything in the fourth quarter, because in the third quarter we were 23-7 down. How do you expect anyone to come back that quick against a great defense like the Buffalo Bills? We're gonna fuck up for sure. And that's what we did. I can't blame anyone on the team. I believe I can blame a lot of people on the team, but it was just overall poor coaching from the offensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator, you can't really blame him. Mike Tomlin has to take some stick. Big Ben has to take some stick because he didn't have a really great game. He threw 2 touchdowns for 2 interceptions. Carried only 187 yards. James Conner carried 10 carries for 18 yards, so an average of 1.8 yards. Terrible. Juju Smith-Schuster probably had the best game of all of us. An average carry of 9.2 yards. Deontay Johnson did alright, but in this game really needed someone to rush, but James Conner couldn't do that. Couldn't do that for us, and sadly we lost that game. Game week 14, we had the Cincinnati Bengals, and I thought after being the Cincinnati Bengals in game week 7 or 8 in formidable fashion by winning by 36-10, we fucked up. And this was the game where I was most pissed off, because the Cincinnati Bengals, they were terrible. Joe Burrow got injured, so they had a backup quarterback in Ryan Finley, and we got fucked by them. We got fucked by them, guys. We got fucked by a Cincinnati team which can't even defend to save their lives. Their season record was 3-10-1. They lost 10 games. They were terrible, but we didn't really do a lot going offensively. Offensively, we didn't do a lot. In the first, we were losing at halftime 17-0. At halftime, we were losing 17-0 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Big Ben, I love Big Ben, but he had a shite game. James Conner was injured, but if he was there, he would have a shite game. Juju Smith-Schuster was too busy doing his covert dance. It was so bad from us. So bad. Like, Washington Redskins, I can understand. Like, okay, they have a great defense. Buffalo Bills, I can understand. Okay, great young team. Are gonna losing to them don't matter, but losing against the Cincinnati Bengals was bullshit. And we lost that game really bad, 27-17 against Cincinnati Bengals. We couldn't stop them. In the second quarter, they scored 14 points. In the last quarter, they scored 10 points. We do so well in the fourth quarter, where we scored 15 points against the Cowboys. We couldn't do nothing again. Offensively, we just sucked. We sucked, only scoring 7 points. And then we had 3 losses on the back. After being the Ravens in game week 11, winning 11-0, we lost game weeks 12, 13 and 14. 12, 13 and 14. And I was just, it was sad. Losing, I could understand losing to the Buffalo Bills, but to the Cincinnati Bengals, I was pissed off. And we needed to have a good season to come back, because now we could lose the AFC North if the Ravens were winning and started winning again. The Browns started winning again. So we need to do win our next game to win the AFC North. If we didn't win our next game, we could have been fucked and got at the wildcard round 16. Game week 15 was probably the most important game week for us because we needed to win that game against the Indiana Colts, and the Indiana had to actually, they had a lot riding on the line because they weren't going to win the division. They needed this win to win the wildcard round. And once again, good old Pittsburgh Steelers started the game in shit fashion. Started in really shit fashion, where I think we scored 7 points in the first 2 quarters, and they scored what? They scored, I think, 21 points in the first 2 quarters. But luckily, something which I give props to Big Ben, is that he started making all the calls. He stopped listening to the offensive coordinator and he started making the calls. And this really helped us because in the first 2 quarters we looked clueless. We didn't look like a team which wanted to win the AFC North. We wanted to just give it away to the Browns or the Ravens. But luckily, we got that win at the end of the day. And that win was really important for us because after losing 3 games in a row to Washington, to Bills and to the Cincinnati Bengals, we really needed this win. And that's what Big Ben did. Where in the third and fourth quarter, he scored, he had 3 touchdowns, where Juju got a touchdown. Deontay Johnson had a very, very nice touchdown. I think for over 70 yards touchdown. James Conner had a nice rushing touchdown. And this was very important because this game sealed us the AFC North. But let's move on to game 16. That game didn't really mean anything for us because we already knew we won the AFC North. Going against the Browns really needed that win because they could have got a wildcard place, but they fucked up against the New York Jets. And in that game, unfortunately, we lost, but Big Ben was rested. There was no TJ Watt. A lot of our players were rested. They were missing, and we lost the game 24-22. But even then, we nearly beat the Browns and had a misery compiler to any chance of them to win the postseason. And it was just a really boring game in general for us, really. Let's move on to the postseason. I was so ready for the postseason. Going 12-4, winning the AFC North, we got the Browns, and the Browns didn't have the best season. They just about scraped the wildcard round. I was doing my Corvette dance. I was ready for this game. I was like, yes, we can beat the Browns, and then we can move on to Baltimore Ravens, or I believe we were gonna play the Bills. I was like, okay, we can get a revenge on the Bills. Fuck no. That game was that postseason game against the Browns was just so sad. That game was just so peak for us. I really thought this year was our year to actually do some kind of damage. Like, at least I didn't ask to win the Super Bowl, at least to get to the AFC Championship game. But no, we absolutely got fucked by the Cleveland Browns, and it was peak. I was just so shocked. Like, snap. They scored 28 points, guys, in the first quarter. They scored 4 touchdowns in the first quarter. That's impossible. Big Ben had probably one of the worst life in his game. Even though he has 501 yards, who gives a fuck? My man has had 4 interceptions. And this was against a Browns team where they didn't have no OBJ. The fucking coach wasn't even there. Kevin Stefanski was put under the COVID list. My man was put under the COVID list. And you fucked up. We fucked up so bad. How could we fuck up against a Browns team? It was against someone like a Buffalo Bills, and we got finessed by them. It was understandable, but 28 points. 28 points in the first quarter. Most teams don't even score that in a whole game. Oh my god, I was so pissed off. Like, at that time, I was like, as soon as the game finished, I was just so distraught. Like, I thought we could win, we could move on to the next round. So distraught from what happened to us. Like, I didn't expect this, but we did score some points in that game. Like, we did try to make a comeback, but it was too late, and we fucked up so bad. I couldn't believe my eyes. And I wasn't the one who was crying in the shower. That Browns game was actually one of the lowest points as being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Even though I haven't been Pittsburgh Steelers for 3 years, like, there's probably Pittsburgh Steelers fans just going through the camera being like, what's this British shit you're saying? We probably had worse moments. Even when we went 8-8, like, that wasn't depressing at all because we knew that Big Ben was injured. Mason Rudolph, even though he's a good quarterback, he couldn't do the job. But this season, the offensive line has actually been poor. Offensive line has been so poor. Big Ben even though he's had a great year, where he's had more than 5,000 passing yards, he's had 33 touchdowns, but he's just been not the Big Ben once we used to know and love. The Big Ben which I fell in love with was the one which beat the Arizona Cardinals, which beat I forgot another team with to be in the Super Bowl. Okay, At me at Twitter, at me. You have my Instagrams below. Any Pittsburgh fans, just at me. But the one Super Bowl which I remember really watching was the Arizona Cardinals, which I went to rewatch. And he's not the same, like, he can't escape the pockets as well. He's just, sometimes he tries too much. And us not having a run game, like, we can't rush to save lives. James kind of started off really well the season, rushing super well. But we've struggled afterward. Game week 8 or 9, we have struggled where he's at an average of like 2 yards per carry, and that's terrible. Going forward, we need to have a new rusher. Like, I like James Conner's story, like where he battled cancer, he came from cancer, and he's made it to the NFL. But as Stephen A. Smith says, like, we need a new rusher which can, like someone like Saquon Barkley, who can just break down the defensive line, can break the linebackers, can break the safety, can break the left tackle, the right tackle, the center tackles. It's just, we don't have that, and we need that because, like, sometimes the man-to-man coverage will be so good where you can't throw the ball, so you need to use your rushes to rush the ball down and get the yards. But unfortunately, that's not been for us, and that's been a piss take, because if we had that rushing in many games, like in the Buffalo Bill games or even like in the Washington's game, we could have easily won those games. Even in Cincinnati, like, every time you can't believe on your receivers. Our receivers done well. Juju's had a great season, even though everyone takes a piss on for doing cover downs. He's the youngest man to be in the league, and he's proven so many wrong. Chase Claypool, my man's been the rookie of the year. That man he's what, like nearly 6'3", 6'4". He runs so quick, and he has so many. I'm on man-on-man coverage. He's so good in it. One-on-one, he's gonna beat you because he has the eye, and he can get away from me so easily. But I'm telling you, going forward, we need. Pittsburgh Steelers has signed a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback coordinator. I would not say that Mike Tomlin's time is over, but I would say that he needs to make better calls, because this man's probably one of the African descent coach. Like, he's been very successful with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but going forward, we need so much of offensively. I really want to get a shout out to our defense. Like, Steelers defense has been so great this season. We have sacked 56 times, and that's probably one of the best in the NFL. And alone TJ Watt's got 15, but TJ Watt's been so good this season, but there's been so many other players who have been superb for us. Mika Fitzpatrick, who's got 4 interceptions. Mike Hilton, who's done bits. Bud Dupree. Our safeties, Terrell Edmonds. Robert Spillane, who took the space of, I forgot his name now. We have had a really, really good defensive season. Like, our defense has done so well. Like, they have saved us in so much situations. The Ravens game, they saved us. In the Cowboys game, they saved us. In the Indiana Colts games, in the latter half where they didn't let Phillip Rivers get the ball. Against the game against the Houston Texans, where Deshaun Watson couldn't score any points in the second quarter. They have been the savior for us for sure throughout the season. And I hope next season we can do something because we have signed a new offensive coordinator. Our defensive coordinator can still be there, but just make sure we play the right calls defensively going forward, and make sure we don't lose any of our starting defensive line. Guys, it's been a great season. Even though we fucked up in the postseason, it's been a great regular season. And no one knows about Big Ben's future. Is he going to stay? Is he not going to? That's going to be the talk for next year. But please, guys, check out Sabigarments. He has probably one of the best vintage and streetwear gears in the game. Please like, subscribe,